A new Senate report released today alleges that U.S. citizens, including several right here in Southern California, were unlawfully detained by federal immigration agents during recent enforcement operations. Mekahlo Medina has more on the report and the response from DHS. Mac.
Well, Lita, that report is called Unchecked Authority. It outlines nearly 24 cases between June and November of this year. Today, 5 of those citizens testified, as you mentioned, in front of that committee, challenging repeated claims of the Department of Homeland Security that no such detentions ever occurred.
I kept saying I was a U.S. citizen. They got my real ID. They didn't care. They never bothered looking at it. And then they just kept saying I was an alleged U.S. citizen.
That's Andrea Velez, a U.S. citizen who was taken into custody in early June during an immigration operation in downtown L.A. We have video of that when she says she was walking to work when agents grabbed her. She says she used her work bag to fight against an agent who detained her. She was charged with assaulting an agent, but those charges were dropped by the U.S. Attorney's Office. She was testifying in front of the Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations that released a report indicating that nearly 24 U.S. citizens were detained by immigration agents over 5 months, many of them in Southern California. DHS has repeatedly said they do not arrest U.S. citizens. Today, they told us that again in a statement and wrote that the arrests are based solely on immigration status under the 4th Amendment's reasonable suspicion standard. DHS also insists the Supreme Court recently affirmed its enforcement authority. Senator Richard Blumenthal, who heads the committee, says the accounts contradict statements from DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, who has repeatedly insisted no U.S. citizens were swept up in the immigration actions. Javier Ramirez, who recounted his arrest to me weeks after it happened in an exclusive interview in Montebello, told his story to the panel today with the hopes that no more U.S. citizens will be arrested during ICE operations.
What happened to me, it shouldn't be happening to anybody else, and as a citizen here. I don't want it to happen to my family or my kids as well.
Now, this was billed as a bipartisan panel, although we did not see any Republicans, at least in the video that we saw of the panel. Also testifying was Californian and Iraqi combat veteran George Retis. He was detained during a raid at his work site. He told the panel, "I served my country, I wore the uniform. If it can happen to me, it can happen to any one of us." In Long Beach, I'm Mekahlo Medina, NBC4 News.